All right, so the question goes something like this. Are resellers who go and buy things from thrift stores like Goodwill and others and then go and resell those items for profit elsewhere, are they stealing from poor people? In other words, are they taking the opportunity of a less fortunate individual away of having a nice thing, having nice things, being able to access goods for cheaper? All right, there's a lot to this, actually. Now, I could just come right out and say no. I could come right out and say yes. Obviously, I'm not going to. There are some people that believe that this is the case. I'm going to argue against that, and I'm going to tell you why. As somebody who does go into thrift stores and buy and resell things, I'm not just defending myself. I think I have good reason for what I'm going to say. So, first of all, what is a less fortunate person? What is somebody who's poor, right? By definition, in that argument, people are saying that poor people need to be able to have access to these goods. Now, the premise of a thrift store, a charitable organization like Goodwill, is that the items are donated. They don't pay anything for these items. They're donated. And then the profits go to running the store and then to the charitable organizations. That's basically the premise. It's not that simple. But that is what actually goes and helps the less fortunate. And then, you know, the actual items being sold in the store are typically sold to all kinds of people. Anybody, it's a free, you can come in, it's a store, you can come in and buy. You're not going to turn people away because you're rich or because you're poor or because you're a reseller, or that's the premise. It's a store, you can buy things. Now, I'm going to argue that resellers have a very important job to do in this economy, in this whole thing, right? Because, you know, a lot of people go to thrift stores for a better value proposition, if you will. And after the last 4 or 5 years of inflation, I would say that everybody's looking for a better value proposition. Whether it be buying a used car as opposed to a new car, or going thrifting for your clothes if you like a certain brand name. And then to go to the mall would cost a certain amount. You go thrifting, you find it far less. Well, if you go to eBay, you can find them for less, more than the thrift shop, but less than the mall. And oftentimes, items were made better 10 years, 15 years, 20 years ago, and so on, that people are looking for items of that vintage that you can't buy at the mall. And they're looking for those items because they're made better, they're higher quality, and they're willing to pay for them. And they probably still pay less than they were bought for originally to get them. Okay? Now, the job of the reseller is to get these items to the people who need them. And one thing that I want to point out is that, and people might not realize this, but after seeing kind of behind the scenes at liquidators and just how things go, guys, there's no scarcity of things. So most of the items that are bought and sold, right, there are millions of them. They're not rare. They might say they're rare. People might say that or think that, but they're not. I've just kind of learned this and seen this over the years. There's so much stuff that most of it ends up in the landfill. Most of it ends up going away. It ends up being trash. Hopefully it gets recycled into something else, but typically it doesn't actually end up, you know, a lot of it doesn't actually end up in the hands of people who can use it. So the job of a reseller, as I see it, is to get items into the hands of people who can use those items. And there's no more efficient way, at least that I know of, to do that than have people going out and finding them and kind of doing that arbitrage, if you want to call it that. But basically getting things from this place and making them available in multiple places. So when I sell on eBay, I'm selling to potentially the whole world. Well, most of it, a large part of the world, at least all of America. And then there's other countries that are in the international shipping program, and they could be customers as well. So, you know, an item that's sitting in South Carolina in a warehouse or a thrift store or whatever, and there's nobody around there that really wants that item. Somebody in California might, and they might not be able to have access to it, or maybe they don't have time to go out and look for that item, and they can get it instantly, buy it. And of course, it's going to take a few days to ship, but they can get access to that item on the internet through the service of resellers, predominantly through eBay and other sites and platforms. Okay, so this is like a valuable thing that resellers add to the economy, keeping these items out of landfills. I'm telling you, most of these things are new. They're brand new, never used. They get donated for various reasons to and places like Goodwill, you know, for example, like they don't pay for their inventory, but they've started taking they have actually started taking some of the good stuff off the top, and then they have auctions separately. So actually, if anybody's taking good things away from, you know, potentially being bought by individuals who would get them for a better price, it's places like Goodwill. Just being real. And I know this because I've thrifted for a long time, for, you know, for items for profit and otherwise, just out of curiosity, the treasure hunt. And Goodwill is the most sparse of all of them, and it's because they have the most robust reselling program, where they actually take most of what we would consider to be good items off the top, and they go and resell them themselves. And they're not selling them for super cheap prices either. Sometimes they are, because they're auctions, so nobody sees it, or if it just happens, things slip through the crack. But they're making more off of those items than they would in the store. There's a reason why they're doing it. And yeah, so look, that's just the reality of it. So yeah, no, and a lot of these places would not even be turning over good numbers if it wasn't for resellers. I don't think people realize how many people are doing the reselling thing. But really, what we're really just doing is we're doing the service of going through and going through all this junk. Because there's a massive amount of, especially in Goodwill, there's a massive amount of junk. And we're finding things that people can use and put to use. And there's also the argument that, you know, talk about less fortunate people, or people that, you know, maybe don't have so much money. Well, this is a way for people that don't have so much money to potentially make a little bit of money while doing a service for society, right? So, you know, there's even me, like there's been a lot of times where the fact that I resell things saved the day, saved the month, made the bills get paid, right? Like I said, it's not my main thing that I do, but there's been times where it's helped a lot. It's helped a lot. So if you really want to talk about less fortunate people, like being able to actually have a business that is based on moving things from one place to a place where they're desired more and where they're more valuable, I mean, that could be argued to be a service in and of itself. So that's my take on it. And I'm not just like ragging on Goodwill, but they are the ones that do they resell a lot of their own products. There are thrift stores that I go to that are a lot better, and they are charitable organizations, and they are donated items. So they take that, you know, profit from those donated items, profit, whatever they have that comes in, and they actually do good charitable work. And I actually prefer to shop at those places over Goodwill most of the time. I'm not saying Goodwill doesn't do good things. I'm just saying, you know, you find better items, and you know that a lot of the money is going to actual charity, and you know what it is, and you can keep up with it. And there's some people that will probably argue with me on that. But I also go, like I said, to liquidators and bin stores. And that's where I've learned really that there is so much out there. And a lot of it does end up getting thrown away. And so you can thank your resellers for keeping this stuff in the system and actually getting it to places where it will be used tomorrow, the next day, the next week, rather than just sitting on a shelf wasting away, or going to a landfill and just piling up the you know, the trash on the earth, right, so to speak. So that's my take on it. It's probably not complete, but I got to keep it concise, and I got to keep it under 10 minutes because it is what it is. But guys, that's all for the day. Let me know what you think on this topic, and let me know if you resell things from time to time, or do you buy things from resellers on eBay, because that's also, we appreciate people who do. I buy on eBay myself sometimes when I need to find something I can't find. But all right, that's all for the day. Hope y'all have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next one.